It is 6:08 a.m. and I have been terrifying my cats for the last half hour by hauling around my setup, which can mean only one thing. It's Vlogmas, y'all. Hello and welcome to Stitches and Starlight. My name is Tashiana, but you can call me Tashi because all my friends do, and we're friends now. Welcome to a very Starlight Vlogmas. We're gonna do the intro. This is my corner of the internet where we talk about all the things that I'm knitting and spinning and potentially sewing and potentially weaving. It is just fiber joy and wool chaos all the time. I'm coming to you from my home in Brooklyn that I share with my husband Joshua and the two hell kittens, actual cats, not humans, Minerva and Astoria. And y'all, I did the whole thing backwards and we're just gonna keep it. It's one take. It's too early in the morning and I do not have time to do it again if I want to be at work on time. So, welcome to Vlogmas, y'all. This is year two of me sitting here and spinning and talking nonsense. I have my advent from Rose at Akara Yarns, and we are going to open a little bundle. If you're new here and you didn't watch Vlogmas last year, this is less Vlogmas where you watch me go about my day and more. I sit here and open an advent package and spin and talk nonsense for 20 minutes, and we go about our day. So that is the vibe here. If there is like B-roll that I managed to capture or remember to capture through the days, because I'm going to be doing this every other day, then I'll insert montages somewhere. But otherwise, it's just going to be me sitting and spinning and talking shop. I hope you're game for that. I did request a bunch of like questions and topics on Instagram and you guys came through. So I'm going to try to do 3 Q&As. I'm going to try to do a spinning Q&A, like generic Tashi Q&A, because I did one 6 months ago. And then I think I'm going to do sewing and other crafting Q&A. And then there's just going to be like general talking stuff. I'm going to say, again, because I have a lot more subscribers this time than I had last year, this is not intended to be a spinning tutorial. Nothing about this is intended to be a spinning tutorial. We are going to spin for the vibes. People did tell me that they learned from watching me spin last year, which if that's the case, excellent, and I'm very happy for you. But this is not intended to be a spinning tutorial. I'm not going to slow down and go through the basics. I am just going to be spinning because this is just as much for me as it is for you. Thing 4 or 5 or whatever number we're on. I am not promising to get up every morning and put makeup this early on because I don't wear makeup to work because I value my sleep. But I thought it was fun to do it for day one. And if I am wearing fun lipsticks, I'll tell you the name of it. So this is Sad Girl by Anastasia Beverly Hills because your girl is a sad girl. I am very much an emo millennial who still listens to like pop punk on, you know, the nostalgic days. And when I saw a color called Sad Girl, I knew I had to have it. And it's a kind of shimmery, kind of metallic fuchsia pink, but like deep magenta. I think it looks really good on me. So anyways, I will put it here on the screen if you want to grab it. And if I am wearing any fun lipstick over the month, I will try to remember. I have a little bit of context. Makeup was my first love before any of the rest of this stuff, so I have a solid makeup stash. Like I used to go to work full highlight, full contour, full beat every day, and then I realized that was ridiculous and I stopped doing it. But I can put on a little bit of mascara, even my skin out, and put lipstick on. This took me 6 minutes. I can commit to do this. And most of the 6 minutes were evening out my eyebrows because my right eyebrow is evil. Y'all didn't come here for that. Let's open the package. Found number 1. That took me a lot longer than I thought it was going to. Oh, we have to do the present dance. Presents for Tashi, presents for Tashi. All right, let's see what this is. Now I did get the medium wool advent from Rose. So my nemesis is not going to be in here, but there might be a bunch of fun stuff in here. So let's see. Ooh, oh wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, oh goodness gracious. Here we go. Here's today. I can already tell this is going to be great. Now this doesn't have any breed description. I'm just making sure. Yeah, there isn't a breed description, but going off of what I know about wool, This could be a Jacob, it could be a Cheviot. It is definitely a medium wool, which I'm really happy about. But this does mean, okay, so a little bit of context. My drive band on my Lendrum is very mad at me. So I cannot spin at 18:1, which is my default ratio. But honestly, I wouldn't spin this at 18:1 anyway. So we're gonna spin at 15:1 and drop it down if we need to. This is stunning. This is, all right, I don't have time to keep playing with wool. I'm gonna set up my wheel and we're gonna get to go. One of the requests I got last year was if I could try to include myself in the frame as well as my wheel, and that is like categorically impossible in the space that I'm filming in. So you're getting my wheel. If I had a different lens, I might be able to, but I'm filming on a 24mm lens, which is like a hybrid between wide. It feels like a good middle point between like a wide and like a zoom lens. And so there's no way for me to get myself in. Okay, we are going to give Laurel some TLC. This is Laurel, my Lendrum double treadle. I don't know if I said that, but Laurel is out here with me. My Lendrum double treadle I bought secondhand from a delightful woman who lived in the wilds of Pennsylvania, and Joshua and I took a day trip to go get her. I'm oiling all of the movable parts in the hopes that she will be kind and she will not chatter. Now, because I don't know if this is because she's secondhand, she just has a lot of character and she talks to me a lot, which normally I don't mind because I like the sounds a spinning wheel makes, but it is less than ideal for filming when your wheel is chattering. So I'm oiling all the movable parts and setting up my tension and everything else in the hopes that she'll be good to me today. But we'll see. All right, she's all oiled up. I have my leader prepared. We're gonna run that through the orifice hook. I do hope that people who are watching this, I mean, there are people who watch this who aren't spinners. So I was gonna say, I hope everyone who's watching this who's interested in spinning already knows what's going on. I do have this delightful little hand towel that Vivian of What Viv Does wove for us I think a year ago at this point. She was just weaving some towel samples and sent it to a bunch of people. And it's a little spinning towel and I keep it on my wheel. And the other thing I keep on my wheel is a little spinning gauge tool that helps me calculate my twist angle and my wraps per inch. And both of those things stay on my wheel year round. And they just sit on my tension knob. Okay, let's put my drive band back on. We are very zoomed in because one, I have to keep this in a narrow space, but also you guys don't get free feet shots. Not on my watch. This is not OnlyFans. So you're gonna see my hands, you're gonna see my orifice, and we'll see how this looks. And if it doesn't work, I'll tweak it for the next time we do this. But again, this is day one. We're figuring it out. She's all ready to go. Okay, we are smooth sailing. I did just want to get started before we started talking. Oh, this already feels, I am feeling so soothed right now. I'm spinning this continuous back because this is a long wool. Well, it feels, it's a medium toothier thing. And to make sure that I am not spinning, oh, I lost it. To make sure I'm not spinning a super dense yarn, I'm spinning it continuous back with no smoothing. And that way I'm not compressing the air that I'm putting in my singles, and hopefully creating a really lofty yarn. The medium wools, okay, let's just get situated again. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back, we're sailing. Laurel is chattering a little bit, but nothing that I cannot deal with. You might notice that I'm spinning this a little bit differently than how I was spinning last year. I'm spinning this continuous back with no smoothing, because I'm very concerned about over spinning this. The toothier, crisper wools do not need as much twist as their fine wool friends. I did also drop my ratio to 12:1. There's still a little bit too much tension on this. I did go ahead and drop my ratio from 15:1 to 12:1, because at 15 I just felt like we were still getting too much. That is too little tension. Laurel, please. Okay, that feels better. Yeah, so I did go ahead and drop my ratio to 12:1 from 15:1. I'm using, no, that's still too fast. I think you can see that it's too fast. You can kind of see the fiber being tugged out my hand. So much of this is like fine adjustments, and then once you get it, then you just stop touching it. But just getting that final, I think we got it. Okay, so yeah, so I'm spinning this continuous back with no smoothing, and now I'm trying to figure out where I should sit so you can see my hands. It was much easier when I was doing this short forward last year. That might be a better angle, actually. Let's try that. Yeah, that's a better angle. Okay, it was much easier when I was doing this short forward last year because I didn't really have to worry about, you know, whether my hands were in the frame, because my hands stayed at the orifice, so my hands were always in frame. Okay, we are good to go. We are getting set up. I am cross-lacing my bobbin, which is the thing that I do all the time now. I find that it, one, helps me load the bobbin more evenly, but also I think it helps redistribute the twist because the bobbin has the fiber has a little bit more space to travel before it loads onto the bobbin. So I am cross-lacing my bobbins. I cross-lace all of my bobbins these days. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about winter traditions, holiday traditions, solstice traditions. And I really enjoyed, well, one, I really enjoyed the question because it just feels like an opportunity for like you guys to get to know me a little bit better beyond, you know, the spinning and the knitting. And two, I was just really interested to see what you guys had as far as family traditions. So hopefully you'll share some of those in the comments. But a little bit about me. If you don't already know this, I am the oldest of three. I am 33. My sister will be 30 in a few weeks, and my brother is 25. And I'm first gen. My parents emigrated from Panama. My mom came to America when she was 7, and my dad came to America in his early 20s. And all of their family came as well. And so the part of the reason I'm sharing this is because my mom's entire family settled in Brooklyn, and most of my dad's family settled in Brooklyn. And so the holidays were a really big family time for us. My mom is the youngest of 7, and while 2 of her siblings have, you know, gone on to whatever's on the other side, the rest of them are still here, and most of my cousins are still here. A lot of, you know, I like to joke that it's been the great diaspora because a lot of my cousins have left Brooklyn. I now have family in Vegas, and I have family in Georgia, and I have family in Texas. But growing up, everyone was here. And so, you know, the holidays would come around and you would be with your million aunts and uncles and your million cousins. And then when your cousins started pairing off, then you would have your million cousins partners. And then when they started having kids, you had it. There's a lot of us. And so I'm used to the holidays being really, really noisy and really, really busy. It is very different now for Joshua and I, now that it's just the 2 of us. And, you know, my immediate family, we're not very small. My sister now has 3 children. My brother has a daughter. You know, they're all paired off. So my little family of 5 is now considerably larger than it was before. But it's very different now that we're all kind of, you know, older and doing our own thing and not getting together as much as we used to, which I will say I do miss that. And it's part of the reason why why I try so hard to be active in my nephew and my niece's lives, because my aunts and uncles were very active in mine. And I think it's important that like kids have a village if they can, you know, if that's accessible. I think it's important that kids have a village and they have people besides their parents helping to like, you know, raise them to be fully functioning members of society. I digress. There are a few things that are like non-negotiable when it comes to Christmas time for me. One of the things is fruitcake. Now I know that like fruitcake can have a bad rap. I see it a lot in like media. People get like fruitcake in the mail and they like scream and it never, you know, it doesn't rot and all that other stuff. I'm not sure if that's the same fruitcake I was raised on. I was raised on like West Indian rum cake. And I remember fondly, actually I might call my aunt this year and see if she's baking. Going to my Auntie Eva's house and spending 2 days baking cake, because she would bake cake for her and all of her siblings, and when we were done we would have like 2 dozen cakes, 2 dozen like 10-inch cakes, and I would take my cake home and I would drop my mom's cake off and everyone would get cake. And we would start super early, and these cakes were baked from scratch. There was no box mix. We would start super early. We would soak the mince meat, like the minced fruit. And you know, I still don't know what's in that. It's just like weird gelatinized preserved stuff. But we would soak the mince meat in port and rum and brandy and all this other stuff. And we would get up early, and I was always in charge of creaming the butter and the sugar. And I always tried to give up earlier than I should. And Auntie Eva would always go, you know, you do this every year. You need to beat that a little bit more. But we were using hand mixers for this volume of cake, which is, it's wild to me that we still do that way. You know what? Maybe I should get Auntie Eva a KitchenAid mixer this year for all the cake that she's baked for me over the 33 years of my life. But you know, you'd beat the sugar and the butter, and then you add the applesauce, you add the eggs, and then you bake them. And then you had to like wait and let the cakes sit. And then as the cakes were cooling, you soak them in more wine. I mean, those cakes are experience. And depending on like who you got cake from, the levels of alcohol in them were different. So some cakes you opened and like the rum smell hit you from across the room. Cake is a very like unique thing. I mean, I'm sure it's not unique to Panama, because Panama is very similar culture-wise to a lot of the countries in the Caribbean. But like, I remember last year, because Auntie Eva didn't bake last year, I remember going from house to house and harassing every other older Panamanian woman I knew to at least give me half a cake. And Joshua and I ended up with this weird amalgamation of cake from like 5 different people, and then we ended up ranking. I mean, it was a secret, right? Like, we didn't tell people, but we did end up ranking them over which cake we thought was superior, because everybody bakes cake differently. But the other thing that's not negotiable when I get my fruit cake is ham, and I don't bake ham. My mom does. So I mean, I don't know if you're getting the vibe, but pretty much what I do is I go from person to person and demand food and then bring it all home and eat it here by my Christmas tree. But those are the things that remind me of home. When we were growing up, we would open Christmas gifts at midnight. So my sister, my brother, and I would stay up. Sometimes we would take naps. And at 11:55, my mom gave us new pajamas every year. So every year we would put on brand new pajamas. My sister and I normally match because that was the thing my mom did. And at midnight on the dot, we would be sitting in the living room, and my dad would show up with a giant garbage bag for all the wrapping paper. And my mom would, you know, distribute the gifts. And I would sit on one couch. My sister would sit on one couch. My brother would sit on the other. And we would open presents. And then if we got toys, we would stay up all night playing with the toys. My parents would go back to sleep because it would just be like, these kids will entertain themselves. And then Christmas morning, when we wake back up, we would have fruitcake and ham and hot chocolate. And that's what childhood felt like. So just because I'm not opening Christmas gifts at midnight, I mean, I did make Joshua open Christmas gifts at midnight one year. Just because we're not opening gifts at midnight doesn't mean that I don't want the rest of that nostalgia, which is why the fruitcake and the ham is so important to me. We always put up our Christmas tree on the day after Thanksgiving. And once we were old enough to do it by ourselves, we started doing it without my mother. So she would just wake up and see the tree up. I mean, December is one of my favorite months of the year because it's just a reminder of all the things that are good in the world. I'm beyond the consumerism of the Christmas holiday and all the, you know, the Christmas presents and all that other stuff. But I mean, the channel is Stitches and Starlight. Like, I am all about finding the hidden magic and the hidden joy and the hidden wonder of the world. And for some reason, it just seems really palpable in December. I don't know if people are just a little bit more gentle this time of year. I don't know that they are, but I don't know if it's just that people are a little bit more gentle this time of the year, or if it's just that it's darker and so we kind of have to look for the light a little bit more. But something about this time of year really, really brings me a lot of joy, and I think makes people better versions of themselves. So the other thing that I was doing for a few years, and I do know that there are a few people who watch me here that came over from my scrapbooking Instagram, which if you did, hello, welcome. For a few years, I engaged in a project called December Daily, and it is so for a very long time, and I'm not saying that I'm not going back to it, I'm just on a little bit of a hiatus. I was a very dedicated scrapbooker and memory keeper. I was very invested in taking pictures and documenting like the day-to-day life experience. And so for a very long time, that's what I was doing. And I had a separate Instagram for it. I will put it in the description box if you were interested. I have not updated it since 2022 because I have not made anything on paper since 2022. But for a very long time, the project that absorbed my entire life was a project called December Daily by Ali Edwards. And the point of the project was to tell a story every day in December leading up to Christmas. And it didn't have to be a Christmas story. And that was my favorite thing about the project, because the project didn't have to be a Christmas album. The project was a microcosm of what your life looked like that December. And I did it 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and my 2022 album's unfinished. But I still have 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I have 6.5 albums. And it's really cool to go back and see where I was in different Decembers. Like there are some Decembers I was in school. So like there's pictures of me studying for finals. There are some Decembers when I was not in school. There are some Decembers where we went upstate. There are some Decembers where we went to Virginia. So there's just a bunch of different stories. And just talking about that project makes me want to go back to it. Not this year. I'm not prepared to do it this year, but maybe next year I might go back to it. And a lot of people ask me, why do I scrapbook, right? Like, I don't have children to document. Why am I scrapbooking? And I scrapbook for myself. I scrapbook because I live this life, and every day that I wake up in the life that I live, I have a story to tell, and I feel like I owe it to myself to tell that story. I'm not hoping that like my nephews will find this in 20 years and be interested in who their aunt was. I'm not so delusional to think that they're going to be that invested in who I am. I'm writing the stories of my life for me because it's important for me to see where I was, where I am, and where I'm going. So there you go. So I will put a picture of some of my like favorite spreads on the screen while I spin. But those are the things that like ring the most for me as a holiday tradition. I still go to my mom's on Christmas and I still have my fruitcake and ham, and if I get there and there is not cake, there is hell to pay. So, you know, I showed up one year and there was not cake, and my mother and I had a little bit of, I'm saying this all in jest, like I did not have a meltdown, but I was very cross with her that there was no cake, and that has never happened again. They keep hoping that my sister and I and all of my cousins will learn to bake, so that, like, you know, this does not die out when they do. And in all actuality, I should learn how to do it by myself. But it's just more fun to do it with like the older women in the family. They share like family secrets, and you get like hot gossip while you're baking about what everybody's been up to for the year. It's more than just the sitting around and putting the cake in the oven, and more the community of the whole thing. But yes, we should learn how to do it without them, because then who's gonna make it with our little nibblings when they grow up, right? I gotta say, I'm really enjoying the tactile experience of spinning this. The medium wools are my favorite. I like the crispness, I like the toothiness, I like the texture. And I know they're not for everyone. I'm still debating what to do with my advents. I don't know if I'm gonna do a combo spin. I don't know if I'm gonna do a bunch of mini skeins. I probably should decide by the end of the day, so I know what I'm doing with the rest of my skeins. So someone else asked, and I thought I would put it in the same video, about my solstice traditions. The winter solstice is my favorite. And the winter solstice is my favorite because it's the day of longest night. And it is an opportunity to reflect on all of the darker days behind. But the wild thing about it being the day of longest night is we get more light every single day afterwards. And I find that dichotomy to be really profound and really affirming and really heartwarming, because the days leading up to the solstice are dark. Like, the sun's down at 4 o'clock. I don't see the sun for weeks because I go to work and it's dark. I come home and it's dark. I might get some sunlight on weekends if I leave my cave, but most of the time I'm hermiting because I have seasonal affect, and so I'm just trying to find some good stuff and trying to, like, you know, keep looking for the good and keep looking for the light. And then we get to the 21st and the light's coming back and we get to herald the return of the sun. So on the 21st or the 22nd or whatever day the solstice is, what I do is I light a candle, and as long as I can, I sit with my candle until it goes out. And it is my way of welcoming the light. So I light my candle right at my nightstand, and I sit and I watch it. And I, you know, listen to Christmas carols. But mostly it is just about marking my intentions for what comes back with the season of light and saying goodbye to all the things that I left behind in the season of the dark. And that's it. It is a very personal thing. You know, Joshua knows that I do it. I don't share my intentions very much. It's kind of one of those things that I do for myself and a way of honoring, again, who I was over the year that was behind me and who I want to be in the year. I don't really do New Year's traditions. I think New Year's, like January 1st is an arbitrary day, and I rather celebrate the changes with the seasons. So I celebrate a lot of those changes on the equinoxes and all the solstices, and January 1st for me is just like, all right, well, I have to remember to stop writing 2023 on my like dates. That's all the New Year's days for me. I really celebrate that season of change on the winter solstice because it feels like a very marked and profound difference. Going from the dark to the light. The summer solstice is just a day for me to play. I went to a singing circle this year. I was like, we're still in 2023. I went to a singing circle where we just sat in the park and sang together. There was a bunch of strangers. I'd met all these people that day. And we sat and we sang until the sun set, and then we walked home by candlelight in the park. And it was one of the most amazing things I've ever engaged in, and I think that's going to be what I do for the summer going forward. It's just celebrating and dancing. I am much more in tune with the solstices than I am with the equinox because I like those giant disparities. The equinoxes are about balance, and nothing about my life is about balance. So I like celebrating the days that are at polar opposites. But I did enjoy for autumn talking about gratitude because that just seems like the season, and for spring I like thinking about the things that I'm growing because spring is the season of growing, not like physically growing, but like what do I want to grow and plant in the season of the harvest. And so that's how I mark those 4 days. They feel very important to me. They feel like days of big transition, and days where anything can happen. There's something to me about everyday magic, and when I say magic, I use like the term loosely, and you can like swap that out for the word wonder, or you can swap that out for the word joy, you can swap that out for any of those words. There's something about the everyday experience that makes me really recognize how amazing this life is. And life can be really, really hard. I mean, now more than ever, things are not great. So I'm not so like short-sighted and naive to realize that things are not great. I'm just intentionally looking for the ways life can show up and remind me that even though things are not great, they do have an opportunity to be better, and we do have the opportunity to find the good where we are. And you can do with that what you want. But I hope that you use this season, if you are spinning along with me, or if you are working on a yarn advent calendar and you're working, or you're just, hanging out and vibing, I hope you use this season as an opportunity to look for the good. That's part of the reason why we're doing this one today and not anything like fiber related. It was just an invitation to set your intentions for what you want for the coming season. And if you have not set those intentions, I invite you to kind of pause and think about that right now. I am going to sit here and spin quietly. We are very chill today because, again, I'm setting my own intentions for the season. So I'm going to kind of pause here and spin quietly and give you an opportunity to kind of think about what you might want from your own season of Starlight this December. Bobbin is coming along nicely. Actually, this is a pretty good angle, and I think this is going to be the angle I keep for the rest of the month, because you can see the bobbin filling, you can kind of see my hands, you can see my 10,000 yards or bust sign, which has been changed. We're no longer at 10,000 yards. Actually, I think I have 1,000 yards left to hit my 10,000 yards goal, so that is 100% happening. But I hope whatever intentions you set for this season, I hope 2 things. I hope that life surprises you, and the universe surprises you and makes room for those things that you are asking for. But my bigger hope is that you make space for it yourself and you go after the things that you want. I think sometimes we kind of sit around and we wait for things to happen to us instead of making them happen for us. And so I hope both things happen. I do hope that, you know, the serendipity of the universe and the magic of the universe and all those other things shows up and surprises you in really wonderful ways. I have a lot of memories of ways that life just kind of surprises me. I had a really bad day 2 years ago, and I went to Target to get some Christmas ornaments, and penguins are my favorite. Penguins and owls are my favorite, and I found a penguin, and it was on a little iceberg, and I brought it home, and I didn't realize until I brought it home that it was chipped and that there was a hole in the ornament. And I full on had a meltdown because I was just like, don't I deserve one good thing? And I put it on the tree anyway, and I turned on the tree, and the lights filled the little hole in the ornament and almost lit it up from within. It kind of suffused it with light to the point that the penguin was kind of glowing, and it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. And it was wild to me how 5 minutes ago I was crying and frustrated about this one thing that I just wanted to be a gift to myself on this very bad day, had felt like everything was falling apart. And I know everyone has those moments where things feel so much bigger than they are, but it just felt like I was never going to be okay again. And then I turned on the lights, and all of a sudden it was just like life was going, hey, broken things can be beautiful too. And I hope that you have moments like that where you're not looking for the magic and you're not looking for the ways life can show up and just entrance and delight you, and it does that anyway. And also I hope that you have the moments where you go looking for it, where you find a holiday market. If you celebrate Christmas, or if you enjoy the winter season, not everyone does, but where you find a holiday market, or you go ice skating, or you go get hot chocolate with someone you love, or you go get hot chocolate by yourself and do the things that bring you joy. I will see you here in 2 days. I'm hoping today's Friday, so I'm hoping to get this up after work, but I'll see you here in 2 days for whatever comes next. Let's make something magical together, y'all. Happy season of Starlight.